This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.
Thatcher seemed kind of witchy.
No,
Talking.
Thatcher was awesome.
Who had Salem? I don't think that was us.
Yeah, Americans. We were good at burning witches.
Well,
The witch.
You learnt it from us, like everything else.
Did. Yeah, but we perfected it. That's what mattered.
yeah, we perfected.
I'll be watching it.
I
every
don't think
cinema
that's something
every
to
month.
brag about, Captain.
We need more witches and spellcasters.
Yeah, most definitely. Right, hello everyone. Hello and welcome back. Welcome back. We're in it's snowing in Captain Kangaroo's and Mr. Pickle's side of the world. Medivac feels like it's snowing in his until his heating comes on at midnight tonight.
And it's been trying to snow where I am all day.
Yeah, well, it's really cold here, but apparently tomorrow's going to be cold, and then Monday's into double figures here.
Too cold to snow.
Too cold for snow. What is that?
Idiots.
People always say that. They always say it's too cold to snow, and I'm thinking,
But the the Arctic.
what? Yeah, we only have snow when it's 37 degrees plus. Then that's it. So, I mean, I must admit, I haven't been running lately at all because I'm really worried that I might go out running and slip and fall, and the NHS is already pushed to the limits here. So, but I just thought I wouldn't be able to cope with a broken leg in hospital with COVID as well. So, but I'm looking forward to getting up and starting to run again when it all happens, so that'll be brilliant. So yeah, we left the group in a very interesting situation last week. Mr. Pickles' character, Bartleby Fumis, actually got some secret information off stream, which we'll see what he does with today, and whether or not it's going to be something he shares. The interesting thing is the other party members will not know if he shared it or not because they don't know what the secret information is. See, that's clever. That's clever. So it could be anything at all. And we had some startling revelations last week, very startling revelations, but before we get on to that, I'm going to, as always, allow the players an opportunity to say who they are and who they will be gracing our virtual desktop with tonight. And as always, we start off with Mr. Pickles.
I am Mr. Pickles, and I play Bartleby Fumis, which is our team's theist. He serves Amriel, the light moon goddess, and through her, he's able to channel all sorts of powers, basically just amount to helping people recover, getting rid of poisons and diseases, giving energy to people. Perseverance, I feel, is one of his miracles that really well sums up what he brings to the table sometimes. Other times he brings his knowledge of the local lands, of history, monsters, things that could be sometimes helpful, or hopefully helpful, I should say. Bartleby himself is not much of a fighter. He's really interested in, as I've said, helping people and trying to make the world a better place. which is why he often works with the impoverished side of our main city, Lindowe. Actually, yeah, I guess that's about all I should say about Bartleby. I was going to say he did negative damage, but that's been said. And I'm going to pass the microphone on to Longshanks, EPG.
Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG, and tonight, as always, I'm playing the noble warrior Hengist. He hails from across the sea on the coattails of some sinister gang who kidnaps his sister. He's come across almost got to his sister a couple of times, and then she keeps being vanished or whisking away or stepping through magical portals just at the last moment as he's dying with a spear in his hand, a spear in his chest, and then Bartleby comes to rescue him just at the last second. So whilst he's still on the hunt for his sister, to enable him to complete this goal, he's joined the noble house Galot in Lindowe, and he's slowly gaining influence and trying to increase in the ranks of the noble house Galot so that he can start to dedicate more of his time and resources to finding his sister, if possible. And in doing so, he has encountered many vicious foes that he's slain, and he's paid a little bard a little bit on the side to sing tall tales of his exploits, sort of like if Hengist kills 4 bandits, it's 30 bandits, or if it's somebody who's 6 foot, it's somebody who's 20 foot tall, those sorts of exaggerations of stories to increase his fame and prowess. And he's also dedicated to looking after the weak and helpless in Lindowe. And he will jump to the defense of any in the party, including Cyrus, most of the time, unless Cyrus has clearly done something silly or upset someone. But he's a man of few words and large actions. And with that, I'll pass it over to Medivac.
Why, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Medivac, and I play Hasra Khan. He's a nomad from the northern steppes of this continent, Odes. He's the group's tracker, forager, scout, combat as well. He's very good with his short spear and his scimitar. He wears light padded armor, which looks like pajamas, as they always say. But it's not. It's got quilted armor, so it covers his face, and you see his eyes coming through. He's a very outdoorsy person, and he's very uncomfortable in cities. He does come across that way when he talks to people. He just doesn't really, he can't understand why people keep themselves in, as they do in these stone houses and places, and don't move around that much. He does, well, he's a member of the Brotherhood, which is a group of people who keep track of changes in the biomes and how people and nature and things change and how to maintain a very careful balance there. He's looking more into that after a recent spiritual journey which he had. And he's looking forward to pushing that further on, even if it's just to sit in the tent he was in for a bit, just, Anyway, with that, I shall pass that on to Captain Kangaroo, sir.
Everyone, I'm Captain Kangaroo. I'm playing Cyrus Alias tonight.
Oh, and you got a little dog.
Yeah, I got a little puppy. I found it. Yeah. I think it's a puppy. It looks kind of like a rat, but we'll find out. I'm playing Cyrus Alias tonight. He's the narcissistic, proud president type of the group. We may found out last week that he may or may not have a Napoleon complex. So we'll figure this one out. He's a member of the Order of the Phoenix, so that means he is a sorcerer with a very fiery temper. He's also able to handle himself in hand-to-hand combat pretty proficiently as well. Tonight, hopefully, he doesn't cause too many issues with too many people, but so far that's always the case. So, why change it now, right? From there, I'm going to pass the mic to Inwills, our GM.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for all those fantastic introductions. Okay, just to remind you, if you do wish to have an impact or influence the game, then you can do so by donated £1 and 100 bits. You can give any of the players the opportunity to change a difficulty of a roll. They can either change their own difficulty, making it easier, or they can change my difficulty, making it harder. For £3 or 300 bits, they can automatically succeed in a roll or make me automatically fail in a roll. And for the staggering amount of £5 or 500 bits, you give the players a luck point to use as they desire. Luck points can change rolls, they can be re-rolled, the digits can be swapped over, they can save a life because they can change a major wound into a serious wound, which is less threatening, or they can make me change rolls or do the same with any of my rolls as they can. Please do remember that there is a slight delay in the stream, so we might have moved on, so get ready to donate as soon as you can, and the players will use their golden bitties or whatever you give them within tonight's session. They won't store it up for a later date. And if you want any more information about any of those, then you can see it. It's there over there next to me, and you can also find it in the panels below. But also, if in doubt, then just ask me in the chat and I can bring you up to speed about it. Okay then, so the party came back to Lindowe a few days ago now, well, nearly a week ago now, and they actually found that their favourite haunt, the Hairy Hobgoblin, had gone into demise. It was run down, there was nobody coming along, nobody was participating. Poor Basil, earless, was forlorn, he was sad, his business was going underground, there were rent collectors banging at the door, and things were going pretty badly. Across the way, a new tavern had opened, a tavern called the Sniffling Boar. This was doing very well, attracting both the upper class of Lindowe and the lower class in equal proportions. The party had seen the head of the Thieves Guild, Sniffer, in there when they first arrived, and so they concocted a clever plan to infiltrate the tavern and to try to figure out what was going on. While they were doing this, Annalyn, the local alchemist, offered a way in. However, the party refused that due to Annalyn's certain questionable morals. However, at the same time, Harmony Lee, the person who's in charge of the House Galot, fell ill, and Bartleby and Hengist went up to the house, and Bartleby, with all his medical knowledge, said that, you know, Harmony Lee did not have much longer to go. He sensed a very dark presence in the room, as if it was sapping her energy, and promptly called for her a priest, and got quite forthright to the butler. The butler brought a priest, and the priest went into the room, and Bartleby and Hengist headed back to the Hairy Hobgoblin, where themselves and with Cyrus and Hasra, they concocted a clever plan. It was a cunning plan to get into the tavern. This is what was going to happen. Bartleby went over to his friends, the guards, and brought together a group of friendly people going down into the pub, and Bartleby, the guards took Bartleby into the tavern, as you can see below, and they started up their merriment and enjoyment of everything. Hengist came in by himself as a noble. He originally sat at the guards, but then moved over to some you know, rather posh, rather upper class young ladies who drooled over him and thought he was absolutely fantastic. Hasra crept in. How did Hasra get in?
I just walked in with some meat.
Oh yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it. You brought some meat in. That was a clever plan, and you got taken into the kitchen, and you met the cook. And
oh God, yes.
Yes, and you also saw that there was a trap door going down to the cellars, and then you started to make your way up to the first floor. Hasra and Hasra helped Cyrus when he swapped places with one of the bouncers. The bouncer, I have to get this right, is in Cyrus's 5'1" body, tied to a bed above Basil's tavern. At the end of last adventure, I remember Basil heard a on the bed.
And he had strict instructions not to go up.
Yeah, and he's he was cleaning it. He just said, "Oh, okay." and then so Cyrus came in. So Cyrus on the counter, on the token, that is Cyrus's mind in a bouncer's body. Then Cyrus in the bouncer's body started to try to ignite a barroom brawl. And there was some pushing and some shoving spells. One of the guards got up on a table, I think, and started to dance, and everything was going right. And then some wine was spilt, and a nobleman stood up and demanded satisfaction from the guard. And it looked like the party's plan was about to go into perfect action, when all of a sudden something changed in the room, and the guy you can see here came in. His name is Kristoph, and the guard actually spoke to Bartleby at this point and said, "Oh, he's the owner of the Sniffling Boar." And that was quite and all the young girls around Hengist were sort of like going, "Oh, isn't he lovely? He's so good, look at him, he's so..." and immediately forgetting Hengist all the time. However, that was not the end of the story, because Kristoph somehow managed to bring the barroom back from the brink of a brawl. There were so many bees in there. That was great alliteration, even if I say so myself. And announced that he had a visitor, a guest. And he pointed over to the door, and in walked Harmony Lee, the lady who was on death's door but a few hours ago, and came in looking very nourished. She was plump and she was perfect. She was looking radiant. And Hengist, who knows her quite a lot and has seen her quite a lot, made a perception roll, which in itself is good for Hengist, and actually thought that she actually looked rather a little bit younger than what she actually looked before. And just to finish off this session, we close this session then, and then Bartleby noticed something, and this was communicated to him off the stream and out of the ears of everybody. So the only people who know that is Bartleby, Mr. Pickles' character, myself. The rest of the group do not know what was transpired, and they don't even know that Bartleby has something to say or something different. Hasra was passed on the stairs. Hasra, you think you probably were passed on the stairs by Kristoph in the commotion, and you're just down at one side listening round the corner and taking a peep. He doesn't know that you are there, and you can move in any direction. I'm just going to, and it's purely just for me, I'm actually going to put a little eye next to you, Cyrus, on your token. Can you see that? I think you're muted.
The Eye of Cyrus.
Yeah, you can see it. I can't hear you, but that's fine. So that's just to tell me that you're in somebody else's body, because otherwise I'm just going to forget every time.
What it means.
Yeah. So if I haven't taken it off when you've transferred body back, then just remove it. Okay, then. So we're going to dive straight into it, and Kristoph has sort of like calmed the barroom and introduced his lady, his companion, his guest for the night, Harmony Lee, who has waltzed in, very upright, very noble looking Hengist, probably the best that you've ever seen her, and comes over and she extends her hand in the normal way that ladies of the upper class do, and Kristoph takes it in his own hand and lightly pecks it, or places his lips on her hand, and to which she smiles almost like knowingly. And Kristoph looks around and at the carnage, or the potential carnage, over at one side, and looks at it and takes it in. You notice, anybody who's watching him, he seems to instantly recognize the possible potential or trouble here. And he sort of like quickly looks around and he takes in his audience, because everybody is transfixed towards him. And he sort of like looks around for a moment and then smiles somewhat in a knowing smile and says, "Now is the time for free drinks, I think." And at that notion of free drinks, there's a sudden eruption of cheers and everything. And the guard and the noble person who was going to have an altercation usually notice that they're shaking hands and saying, what they're doing the classic, "No, sorry, it was my fault." And the other person said, no, I wouldn't hear of it. It was my fault. It wasn't. No. And then in the end they say, "Oh, let's have a drink together." And the noble person comes over onto the your table with your Bartleby and sort of like introducing himself. And he says, I am Cuthbert, and you'll be?
I'm Bartleby.
Oh, and he turns to one of the guards and says, "Is he a ruffian? Is he a ruffian?" "No, he's from the church." "Oh, he's one of those." And he sort of says, "Nice to meet you, Bartleby. A drink? Would you like a drink?" And they sort of like pour each other a drink. And Cyrus, you are sort of like observing all this in the bouncer's body when you feel a slight resting of a hand on your shoulder, and you sort of like gaze quietly round, and Kristoph and Harmony Lee are sort of like behind you, and he sort of like leans forward to your ear and says, "Benny, please stay outside."
Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't mean to. It's I just wanted to stop the commotion and whatnot.
Make a deceit roll for me.
We'll find out, won't we? Hold on, I need to get my thing out. Deceit. Actually, I'm just gonna put it into another window. All right.
The tension, the suspense here. Are you leaving it or looking it?
I'll luck it. Yeah, I'm gonna luck it.
Okay then. Which you just switching them around to give you 29.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay then. And he sort of like gives you, and he's sort of like just like he almost like gives you a knowing look, as if you understand that he's sort of like saying, you know, this is not where you
Do your job.
Yeah, very much so. And he sort of like gestures with a spare hand towards the doorway. Hengist, you can see all this happening. Is there anything that you would like to do at this point?
There's something I'd like to have tried to have done if we can wind back a little bit. So as he's introducing Lady Harmony, and he kisses her hand and that sort of thing, just before he announces the free drinks, Hengist would have wanted to have stood up and gone, 3 cheers for Lady Harmony and House Galot.
Oh yeah, and you sort of like
quite loudly.
Yeah. So roll your influence to see whether or not you can bring everybody round. There's quite a formidable character stood in the room at the moment. So Hengist stands up and says, 3 cheers for the Harmony Lee and House Galot.
It just gets drowned out.
And no, everybody just like goes, and you, okay.
Just gonna sit down.
Yeah, you just sort of like sit down, and
he just says it in a monotone, like
you
voice, that no passion.
No, and it probably trails off. 3 cheers for Lady Galot. That's just sort of like sits back down, and one of the young girls round you sort of like pat you on the shoulder and sort of like says, never mind. And Cyrus, are you taking Benny back outside?
Yeah, I'll take him outside. I'll wait for Hasra to come out, so that way I can remind Hasra to, unbind my actual body, and then.
Got ya. Okay then. So Hasra, we're coming to you in a second because you're still hidden round the stairs. Bartleby, you notice that Kristoph and Harmony Lee come over to your table, and Kristoph looks at the 2 people who were about to have an altercation, and he sort of like looks at them both and says, gentlemen, is everything sorted? And they sort of like, oh yes, Kristoph. Oh yes, sorry, it was a minor issue. Sorry if we caused any sort of like hassle here. And Kristoph says, gentlemen, do not be worried about it. These things do happen, and I'm sure they will probably happen again in the future. And he sort of like turns round and his eyes fix on you, Bartleby, and he seems to be, let me just roll a dice roll here. Yeah, he seems to be pretending that he hasn't seen you before, as if, oh, who is your friend, like this. And he sort of like talks to everybody else, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, you seem to have somebody with you. And your friend of the guard, who I forget his name, says, oh, this is Bartleby. He's from the church. Oh, a church person. Master Bartleby, so nice to meet you.
It is nice to meet you too. And I turn to Harmony Lee and say, it's very good to see that you're doing better. I presume the priest was able to help?
And she sort of like smiles and wraps her arm even closer round Kristoph's arm and almost like pulls herself in. And she says, I'm doing a lot better now that Kristoph is with me. And Kristoph says, oh, lady, please. Oh, no, Kristoph, you are quite well. And just make an insight roll. You can augment it with your perception.
Get some augment. Perception isn't great, but it's a 36. Gives me an 8. Brings me to a 48. I think I do want to take a luck point to re-roll this. See if
Okay,
I can
then.
get some better dice.
Yep.
Worst dice.
No, things are going worse. This is not a very good start. Or it is a good start because all your good dice rolls are coming up later. I think that's what you're doing. And she sort of like snuggles into Kristoph, and you're not too sure what was going on. There seemed to be something quite strange in it, but what it actually was, you didn't pick up on it. And Kristoph says, "Oh, my lady, please do not exaggerate." And Kristoph turns to everyone and said, "Ladies, they tend to exaggerate so much." And all the guards are sort of like laugh and say, "Yeah, yes, Kristoph," and then he sort of like says, "Oh, forgive me, I am needed elsewhere." And we're going to zip to Hasra. Hasra, you'll have all this time, so you're going back to the point. You probably hear Hengist says, "3 cheers for," and then things are moving on now. But you have some time. You see Benny in Hasra in Benny's body going outside, and he sort of like walks out. He's not aware that you're actually on the stairs, but you have options now what you would like to do. Just to let you know, the set of stairs goes up to the second floor.
Yeah, it was basically a knocking shop, wasn't it?
But there could be other things up there, and you were querying about where all the produce had come from the kitchen, and so you remember there was a trapdoor going down to the cellars, and you also know down in the cellars that there is some kind of sewer system around, and Hengist talks about a cave system from his early days. And there's nobody on the stairs at the moment.
I did have a couple coming down, didn't I, when I first got on the stairs?
Yeah.
The lady escorting somebody down, wasn't it?
And you think now maybe Kristoph actually passed you on the stairs.
Oh, right.
So he was probably upstairs before it happened. So what would Hasra like to do?
Hasra's seen Cyrus Billy go out.
Yeah.
But he still wants to have a quick look at the top of the stairs, just to try and get a general layout.
Yeah, cool.
So I do want to just casually just reach to the top of the stairs, have a look left and right, just so I can get a picture in my eye of what we're working with, because he never likes to go into somewhere that he doesn't know what the layout is.
Yeah, so just so you get a general feel, as you get to the top of the stairs, I'll draw it on roughly so you can see it. So this there's like a corridor that goes off like that. Down this side, on each side of the corridor, there's doors that obviously seems to be some kind of bedroom, maybe workshops or storage areas. You notice that at the end, as you look down to this end, the corridor comes like that, and then it turns. So you figure it might come back on itself down the opposite side, with rooms in the middle and rooms on the outside. The other thing that you do notice is that the corridor is this side of it down here, to your left as you go up here. This is a door, and it's quite a formidable door. It looks very black ash or door. Right. It seems to be very big. It seems to be reinforced. It seems to have bands of iron or some kind of metallic substance in it, and there seems to be rather a big keyhole and latch on it, and it seems to be perfectly shut as you get there.
One quick question, Bob. There was a pile of clothes at the back of this building, wasn't there?
Yeah.
A detritus but there was lots of like posh clothing and things, or well-to-do clothing.
That's what Hengist found. Yeah.
Yeah. where would that line up with this building?
Yeah, so it would be down here. It would be up here. So if you think about it, above the tavern, there's a corridor, an alleyway. And then from the kitchen, which is back here, there's a door out sort of like this side that goes up the alleyway to where Hengist found all this stuff.
Yes, because the cook did say something about using the cook's entrance as all this.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Right, no, that's fine. But I take it there's nobody in this corridor or coming up the stairs.
No, not at the moment. You can hear that Kristoph. You can hear his lyrical tones downstairs. So he's now probably, you've sort of like crept up. Benny's gone out with Cyrus, and Kristoph and Harmony Lee are probably now having their conversation with the guards and Bartleby. You can hear hushed tones from downstairs.
What I'd like to try and do is have a quick look through the keyhole, if I could, of this door.
Yeah.
But in the pretense of maybe tying a shoelace, but fastening a strap on my shoe, on my boot.
Yeah, and you sort of like make your way across to it, and as you start to approach it, you get a strange feeling because your amulet suddenly goes from being very cold to being very hot, almost like immediately, and it's sort of like you feel it on your chest, and sort of like it distracts you from the door back to it, and you no sooner have you got hold of it or taken a step away from the door, it cools again, and it's definitely. You find that if you go towards the door slightly, it starts to get warmer. It's definitely something about this door that is making your amulet get hot. It's just warm now. It's almost as if the hotness, it's never getting as hot as what it was. But it's definitely something. Yeah.
I had this before in Lucius's house, didn't I?
Yeah,
where there was something in a room where there was something dangerous in there, and it got warm.
It certainly was, yeah.
So with that in mind, Hasra is going to retrace his steps back down to the stairs, and then casually go back through to the kitchen, and say to the cook, "I'll be going now. I will bring you some more treats because you said you had something for me, perhaps the next time we meet. So I'll bring you some more meat to try."
Okay, brilliant. So you come down here and start going towards the kitchen. Can you just roll for me your stealth roll? So you can see whether or not you can get in without attracting undue attention to you. And yeah, you seem to sneak in. Bartleby, just roll your perception check for me. Yeah, you don't see Hasra either. He is one with the wind. And Hasra, you go in, and you sort of like say to the cook that you were bringing something, and rather unexpectedly, she grabs you and pulls you close and sort of like says, "Anytime, my dear." And she sort of like tries to peck you on the cheek with her teeth.
Can I use a vein?
Yes. You sort of like move away as her smelly, toothless grin comes towards you, and she sort of like somebody else laughs in the kitchen, and she sort of like pushes you away and sort of like looks at you and says, "Oh, you're going to make it hard. You're playing hard to get, I see." And she says, "Oh, I'm up for the fun of it," as she rearranges the top half of her body and pulls her pinny down slightly and maybe even hinch it up a bit, revealing a rather hairy calf muscle. And so everybody smiles and everything, and you sort of like quite luckily make your way out of the kitchen. Are you heading back to the Hairy Hobgoblin? Is that going to be your plan?
Yeah, that is the plan, to go back.
Okay, then I'll just move your counter off there. So back down in the Sniffling Boar, we've still got Harmony and Kristoph talking to the guards. And Hengist, you can see this. You can see all this happening. And the girls around you seem to be mesmerized by Kristoph. They're either just sat like this, just gazing with it at him, or some of them are sort of like saying things like, do you think he, and another one says, oh yes, most definitely, oh I do hope so, and things like this. And they seem to have totally ignored you altogether. They seem to be besotted by Kristoph at the moment. And what would you like to do?
So Hengist is watching Kristoph as well, and he's watching how Harmony Lee's acting, and he's wanting to see if how much of an act maybe it is, if you can understand, see if it's an act, if it's
okay, yeah,
if it's true feelings, or if it's
so
they're putting it on, if you know what I mean. So
blind roll a D100 and tell me what your insight is.
So that's the blind roll gone in, and my insight is 32.
32. It looks like she's completely truthful. It looks like she's absolutely, completely besotted with Kristoph. There seems to be no doubt there. You definitely don't think that she's actually acting. Not at all. She is 100%, seems to be 100% in love with Kristoph. And she's never looked better, Hengist. I mean, even Hengist, you know, you have a look at her and she looks pretty good. You know, least of all that she was nearly dead a few hours ago. You know, but she's looking even better than when she used to be with Lord Ashton. You know, she's you definitely get this feeling that she's younger, more plump, more taut, more in shape. You know, and you're not too sure, but maybe even her eyelashes have grown somewhat as she flicks them. She seems a bit like a vixen now. You know, she always had that mean nastiness before her hat, but now she doesn't seem to have it at all. It's as if Kristoph has really changed her.
Hengist will start muttering under his breath, just slightly, you know, so like muttering those thoughts aloud slightly, but under his breath. As he takes a sip of whatever goblet of wine he's drinking at that particular time.
And one of the girls next to you sort of like hears it and turns to her and says, "Oh, we still love you, Hengist, but I mean, he's so Kristoph, isn't he?" And another one sort of goes, "Yeah, so Kristoph." And then sort of like she almost like looks like she's dreaming about something, and one of the other girls nudge her, and she goes, "Oh, sorry." Like
I just pour them all into another glass of wine. I'm just ignoring the fact that gobbling someone
and
else.
slip something into the wine.
No, Hengist would never do that. That's something Cyrus would do, not Hengist.
Sorry, I don't remember Cyrus saying he's going to be a Cosby or something.
Oh.
Unlike Hengist.
And Hasra's getting some action as well, I noticed.
I was about to say, can we do a musical moment? Can we go, no one drinks like that.
Yeah, and sort of like you sort of like fill up their drinks, and back at the table, Kristoph sort of like looks at you, Bartleby, and says, "And to which church do you pledge your allegiance to, Bartleby?"
The only church worth pledging your allegiance to, the Church of Amriel.
Oh, that one. How interesting.
Well, yes, I would assume you know of that, since, I mean, you and the lady seem to be quite an item here. Surely you would have known about the priest saving her today.
We tend not to visit religious places at all, but you are you are very welcome in my humble tavern here.
Are you saying you weren't aware that she was dying today?
Many things happen in our lives, Mr. Bartleby. You need to learn that things change at quite a rapid pace. But, of course, being a man of the cloth and, shall we say, and he looks skyward, divinely inspired, then you, being a man of the world and of a heavenly place as well, you will have more knowledge on such things than myself.
I suppose.
Oh, no, Mr. Bartleby. I don't think suppose is the right word. I think most definitely. Gentlemen, don't you agree? Oh, yeah. Bartleby's like that with Amriel. Honestly, we can't separate him half the time. Oh, you do Amriel? Oh, how jolly spiffing. That is right. Maybe you could take me to the church one day, Mr. Bartleby. You could accompany me if that would... Oh, I do think that would be quite splendid, Mr. Bartleby. If you could take young Cuthbert here under your, shall we say, wing, and show him the divine inspiration that comes from being in the sight of a god or goddess.
I mean, the church is always accepting new initiates, but can I ask? I haven't I hadn't seen this tavern before, and you know, right across the street was another tavern. I'm just curious if you can share your divine inspiration of what led to this establishment.
Oh,
So
Mr. Bartleby, I am honoured that you think I am divinely inspired, but I am just a poor and humble tavern owner. That's all you will ever find here. Just me, the humble tavern owner.
I see.
Roll your insight. You can luck it and reverse it.
Yeah, it's early in the night, but I'm going to do it. I need to know more.
Okay,
I'll take a reverse.
Kristoph is purposefully ignoring your questions.
Yeah, I got that feeling.
Absolutely, but you do know now that he's doing it on purpose. He's not doing it he's not ignorant, he's not stupid. He's purposefully avoiding answering your questions and talking about something completely different. You also get the distinct feeling that the crowd around him are... You even notice that when you're sat there, now everybody seems to be looking at you, you know, on Kristoph's side, as if he's rallied the troops. And Harmony Lee sort of like eases herself up and whispers something in Kristoph's ear. I'll give you a formidable perception roll if you want to try to get some idea of what it is. You might be able to see lips moving or something, but it will be a formidable perception roll.
formidable. I'm just going to be probably focused on Kristoph with frustration.
Yeah, unless you want to look it.
No.
Okay, and she sort of like leans up, and you notice that she whispers something in Kristoph's ear as she looks down at you at the end, and Kristoph smiles and says, "Excuse me, my lady here needs to be refreshed, shall we say. It's been an honor to meet you all." And he gives a casual nod of the head, and he turns to walk away, and then he stops and turns back to you, Bartleby, and says, "I am sorry to hear about your friend's tavern. Maybe I can do something to help. Do come back tomorrow evening, and I'm sure we can have a chat about it." And the guards turn to you and say, "Oh, Bartleby, isn't that so nice of Kristoph to do that for you? That is so... Oh, thank you." And somebody starts a round of applause. And Kristoph says, "Gentlemen, please, please. I do not need applause. I like to spread my generosity and goodwill anytime I can. Sad to say, I need to adjourn to my upstairs accommodation. The Lady Harmony Lee is, shall we say, anxious to see what's in my office." And the guards go, "Oh!" And he sort of like, he nods to you. And Harmony Lee leads the way. And as Kristoph moves away, be almost like letting Harmony lead him by his arm, he looks over his shoulder at you, Bartleby, and your eyes sort of like meet each other. And he does a smile and a knowing nod. He sort of goes like this at you, as if he knows something, as if he's very much aware of something. And at that moment of, "Yes, I know," passes between you and him. And then he turns his attention to Harmony Lee, and they both disappear up the stairs and out. Yeah. What would you like to do, Bartleby?
Slink back to the Hairy Hobgoblin in shame.
Yeah, well, you try to, you sort of like get up to go, and what are you saying to the guards?
I'd best be moving on for the evening. I have more things to do, but it's been a great...
No, the night is
party.
young. The night is young, Mr. Bartleby. You've only taken a little sip of your wine. Oi! And a barman woman comes over and she says, "Phil, we need a tavern. We need a flagon of wine here." And she says, "Oh, well, it's on the house for Mr. Kristoph." And they go, yeah, they sort of like cheer, and they sort of, the flagon comes back, and they sort of like fill up your wine, and sort of like he fails to stop in time, and it all overflows, and everybody laughs, and somebody goes bang on your back, and yeah, you're going to have to make an influence roll to get yourself out of here. Otherwise, you're going to be in here for the majority of the night.
And with this influence roll, I'm going to attempt to retell a story that Bartleby's mother used to tell about something like a monster with scissor fingers that would chop off your
Okay,
toes
you
if
can augment it with your oratory then.
Oh, okay. I thought that would be my reason. Oratory, I will take that.
Ooh, 11% going on to this roll.
I do a lot of sermons. All right, here's the story.
Not very
about why
good
Bartleby
ones,
needs to
but
get
you
home.
do a lot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they all sort of like listen to the wonderful story, and you sort of like make your excuses to go, and they says, "Oh, Barbie, we love you, Barbie, we do," and also that they chant up, and as you're walking out, they say, "Barbie, we love you, we do, Barbie, we love you, we do," and everybody's sort of like joining in as you just sort of like walk out. Hengist, you can see Bartleby walking out to a chorus of "Bartleby, we love you, we do." Do you wish to leave?
Has everybody got like a little candle in the air as well?
Yeah, no, it's more of a tankards on table going, "Barbie, we love you, we do, Barbie, he's a man, and everybody's going, "Yeah, Bartleby," and he's sort of like, how's Bartleby reacting to this?
Bartleby is going to have a degree of grace and jovialness here, as long as he's still in the bar.
And are you going to address the crowds at all?
He'll probably do something non-verbal, like do a quick bow or.
Oh, acknowledgement. You're not going to go into a sermon then?
No.
Hengist, are you coming out with? Or are you staying?
Hengist is staying.
Okay.
He's wanting to. He's staying until closing time. Not to drink, but because he wants to keep an eye on what happens.
Okay then.
Is Hengist going to stand up and go, "Hello, my name's Hengist, I'm here all night"?
So Hengist tries to start up a chant of "We love you, Hengist, we do," but there seems to be nobody else joining in, so he just sits down. So you sort of like make me a willpower check.
So who's that? Me?
Yes. This should be a good one. Your willpower's massive.
I got 97 and 97.
Yeah. Okay then. So, you, Hengist, you actually you remember the jollity and the laughter, the really positive emotions of the night, and the ale is flowing, the wine is flowing, your young entourage are flowing as well, and you wake up somewhere that we'll talk about in a second. As Hasra, you'll get back to the bar first, to the Hairy Hobgoblin. Hasra, you'll get back first and see Benny's body tied up to the bed. And
Cyrus's body tied up.
Yeah, Cyrus's body with blindfolded, and the bed is the little cot is moving. It's just like a little child's bed that you've managed to put him on.
There's two things I want to do before I switch bodies.
Just before
First,
Cyrus, does this bed have a little thing so it doesn't roll out in the middle of the night?
No, it's not a crib.
So Hasra, hang on, because Hasra, you'll get back to the body. You can look out the window and see Hasra outside. See Cyrus in Benny's body outside, but you two do not have any form of communication between each other. So what's going to be your plan, Hasra? Are you just going to stand guard over Benny?
Yeah.
Hasra, sorry, Cyrus.
Because Cyrus basically said, "Don't let him see anything happening in the room."
Yeah.
Because he's blindfolded, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
I blindfolded him, and he was tied.
I think he's got a bag over his head, if I remember rightly. I think it's a Hessian sack.
A double bagger. It's a double bagger.
Yeah.
You've seen Cyrus.
Okay, so Hasra, you're up there just sort of like keeping the eye on what's happening. Yeah, Cyrus, what do you wish to do then?
Can I do a perception check to see if I see Hasra through the window?
Will Hasra be going to the window?
I would imagine, because he probably.
I'm asking Hasra.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He would go up, make sure Cyrus is still secure, and he's seen Benny go out, and he would keep an eye. Yes, he would. He would.
Yeah, you don't need a perception roll then.
Anyway, it's Hasra.
Yeah, Hasra's up at the window. You can see him up there.
All right. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn to the other bouncer and just ask one thing. I'm gonna ask, "Oi, where's the last time we saw Sniffers?"
And he sort of like talks to you and says, "Sniffers?" And then he sort of like goes back.
Short old mine.
He goes back to the lady who says, "Yes, you may go in shortly." And you say what to him, sorry?
Yeah, the short guy, the guy when we first started working here. Where'd that guy go?
He says, he says, "I don't know what you did inside, Benny, but you obviously have you been smoking something again?"
Maybe.
Yeah, well,
It was
don't.
smoky inside. Is that what you mean?
You don't. Stop smoking it. You need to preserve that brain cell. If that one goes, that is it. You are out of here. And he sort of he turns back to his lady and says, "Yeah, in you go, madam."
I want to put my hand on his shoulder, look him right in the eyes, and says, "I've always loved you."
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna.
And as you say that, and you sort of got his hand on his shoulder, he says, "Benny," like this, and you can see this elderly man, because who's crept behind you into the into the sniffling, and he's sort of like trying to creep, dragging his lady friend. They seem to be rather. They've done their best with their outfits, but they're not really up to scratch here. He sort of like goes, "Benny," like that, and you sort of like turn round and see these two people trying to creep in to the Sniffling Boar behind your back. Normally you would prevent them going. And what's Cyrus going to do?
Cyrus is gonna look right at the window at the Hairy Hobgoblin, make eye contact with Hasra, and do a thumbs up. And then Benny is then just gonna run and straight up tackle this old couple.
Yeah. So you don't.
And
have
then at that point,
you don't have to run at all. You sort of like do it and sort of like launch.
Just flop on them.
Well,
but as I flop onto them, I wanted to then do switch bodies.
Okay. So just roll a D100 because it will be his. It's your brawn roll. Roll your brawn, and tell me how much is put. Brawn is what? Strength had size. So what's yours then? 10.
Mine's at 23, but
at 23.
That's based off of my body.
Yeah.
My real body.
Yeah.
Not.
So what's your strength and size? So how much of that 23 is your strength plus size?
All right.
8
so
plus
10.
18 then.
And then 18, yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So roll your just roll your brawn because I know what Benny's strength and size is. Yeah, and you sort of like turn round and you go for this person and you suddenly feel, Cyrus, that you're bigger, better, stronger than before, and you whack into this man. You take the man down onto the floor. The woman can't leave go of him quick enough, and she goes down as well. And as you switch bodies back, you're not too sure, but you think you heard a couple of cracks. And you, Hasra, you're up in the window. You're sort of like standing back from the window so you can see, and you can see that Benny is
a hip shutter.
Yeah, and Benny's on top, and this old man is screaming like anything, and there seems to be a commotion, and somebody shouts, "Bring back Bartleby!" like this, or something like that, as Bartleby sort of like leaves the thing, and there seems to be a commotion, and yeah. What?
Right.
What do you mean?
Hopefully Hasra, based on that thumbs up in his direction, understood. That means I'm switching at that point, but we'll see.
Yes. Well, Cyrus, I think this guy's got a bag over his head. I don't think he was gagged. So you could actually sort of like say it's you. That's not going to be an issue.
I say, Hasra, I'm back. Password shenanigans.
Hasra's still going to take a minute and just watch what's it's something that you don't see every day.
Yeah. You're not too sure, Hasra, but when the body switch goes, you think Cyrus's body, retracts slightly. It just moves a little bit smaller. And now that you see him tied to a bed.
To be fair with Cyrus, I expected to get that bit bigger because of that personality.
That egotistical, self-righteous, pompous. Yeah. And do you know, Hasra, it's
a lot of adjectives there.
Hasra, it's only as you stood over him that you realise, even though he has this very big personality, he's roughly the size of Gulliver used to be.
Or sniffing tipping.
I was just Gulliver at age 9. I'm just reading is 153 centimeters tall, which is
poor little guy, never stood a chance.
Which is his size is 8 as well, so he's about the same height.
So what Hasra will do is he will take the bag off the head. He'll go, Cyrus, is it you, my friend? Are you back? It's very strange.
Yes, it's me. Can you take this thing off me?
So, I've already taken the bag off, and I will untie him. And And
at that moment, Bartleby, you appear back. Coming in, and you see as you come into the room, you arrive and Basil sort of like says they're upstairs, and as you go in you see Hasra with a bag in one hand and untying Cyrus from the bed in front.
A handful of lard. I think Bartleby's speechless for once.
Bartleby initially just looks at this scene, kind of a little bit slack-jawed of trying to figure out what exactly went down, and then says, Hasra, Cyrus and I have found some troubling news about the Sniffling Boar.
I have?
You are a sorcerer, after all, Cyrus. We both saw...
In almost too good of one. Like, very prominent, everyone knows who I am kind of one. Yeah, tell me more. What you think you saw.
What I think I saw? I would have assumed
What did you think you saw?
Well, critical information.
And then I will put on what I saw afterwards.
It appears that Sniffer isn't really even the one in charge, but the person in charge seems to be, I believe, a sorcerer of some ability.
That'll make things difficult.
And I presumed that Cyrus, being a sorcerer, would have a better idea which order he belongs in.
Do you have an Order of the Phoenix knowledge skill? It's normally a passion or something like that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do. I have 50. Yeah.
Yeah, roll that. Oh, yes, nice one. Okay.
Yes.
Cyrus communicates the following points. Number 1, it is illegal for anybody to do magic outside the 4 orders. Any renegade sorcerers, i.e. any sorcerer without a order, is hunted down by the the most prominent members of all orders together in what is fondly known as the Kill Party. And their mission, if any renegade sorcerer is located, is to subdue them. Obviously, they don't like the word kill squad, but their purpose is to subdue. So therefore, a lot of the orders, well, every single order actually carries out yearly ceremonies where they try to look for magical potential, whether or not that be innate or just lurking or something like that. And that is when they actually notice the difference and bring them to one of the orders. The choice of the order is generally up to the person. Remember that folk magic, initially that's all they can be cast, but those are like minor cantrips, or the sorcerers can cast any folk magic. It's not restricted to the order, it's only the sorcery spells are actually restricted. Your past knowledge of the order and renegades, sorcerers, their stories told in bunk beds or round tables, and the story always is the same. They didn't last for long before they were encouraged to join an order or strangely disappeared to far off lands. The orders are very careful about this. They don't want renegade sorcerers out and about. And Bartleby, you do know of the necromancer, and this was somebody who will probably be a renegade sorcerer. Remember that the Black Order, the Order of the Lich, they're not innately evil. It's just that their magics require a different mindset. You know, they're quite happy to enslave people or animals. They don't do it to be nasty, it's just what their belief is. And just like the Order of the Dragon, the White Order that has all the healing spells, etc., they're absolutely... you can have sorcerers of the White Order who are nasty. You know, it doesn't sort of like completely, they're not diametrically opposed to each other or anything like that. But you know, Cyrus, that if that person was a sorcerer, you would be very surprised that he's either in an order and not revealing it, or you don't think he would be around. That's definitely your experience of the orders.
Okay. So I didn't recognize that he was part of any order.
No, if you remember, all orders have to carry something with them that notates that they're actually in the order. So Gulliver used to have his Order of the Blue Order underneath his lapel. You're quite obviously, you're not as... you don't hide it as much as Gulliver did.
Proud about it.
Yeah, and your hair goes red when you cast spells, which is sort of like a bit of a giveaway, you know. so yeah.
Well, if he's not a sorcerer, then he is somebody else who is able to cast arcane energies onto this world.
Or is it casting? It could be anything. It could be any sort of magic. It could be potions. It could be, it could be sacrifice to another magic user. There's a lot of different options. It's just because you find that he's not some sort of theist doesn't necessarily mean that his options are limited to sorcery. So we can look into him. We now know who the leader is and, who to watch for. What about you, Hasra? What did you find?
He's got a hot date tomorrow.
Hi. It's very strange, and I don't know if I told you about my something before, but I went to the cook with the meats as we discussed, and she was very very eager for more meat, which I will take to her at some point. But in the kitchen there is a trapdoor which must go down to the basement where they seem to be receiving their meat from, or that's where they're keeping the meats. So I don't know what it is like here. And do you have Basil has his cellar, but there's an entrance to the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
So possibly maybe they maybe get things through the sewers there. But more interesting for me was I sequestered myself to the stairs and I went up them to find out, to try and get a layout of the upper floor, and it's pretty standard upstairs, but the corridor goes to the right when you go upstairs and curls around another corner. But on the left-hand door at the top of the stairs is a black door, which looks so out of place. It intrigued me. And this door is bound in metal, and it just looks so unusual here. And when I tried to go near it, I don't know if I should tell you that something told me, something warned me away from it. Let me put it this way. To refresh my memory, do you guys know about my little tooth totem? I think
I don't.
Probably does, because he did detect magic. Did you? Or was that
I think
Gulliver?
you talked with Bartleby to the side about it one time.
Right. Well, as he's saying this about a warning, he will sort of like put his hand to his chest where the tooth would be, and say, I had just something told me not to go any closer to the door. It's worrying. It's unsettling. It's like you do, Cyrus, magic. You're strange with your hands, and it just. I wanted to look through the keyhole, but I couldn't get close to it.
Hasra,
Okay.
if the Hairy Hobgoblin is the same layout as the Sniffling Boar, you probably think the Hairy Hobgoblin sort of like has an O-shaped corridor that is flat, that goes around. You figured that what's happened is that this door is probably blocking off
The other left-hand side. The other room.
yeah. So on this one, on this map, all this area down here is probably been taken over. It looks like it's all been knocked out into one huge room. Cyrus, just so you know, because you were in there, there was no perceptible sign that Kristoph cast magic. Remember, there has to be a verbal, there has to be at least one hand free, you have to be of your sane mind. You figure that if he cast a spell, even if it wasn't one that you actually knew, if he was a sorcerer, you would see telltale signs of casting, etc.
How casting works.
And you didn't
That's
see
fair.
anything.
Well, that's why I think it's a different form of magic. I don't know what exactly it would be, but it would be something like that. So we now know that there's two things to check out. One, why are they getting their imports of goods through the sewers? That's kind of weird. And
Possibly.
two- possibly. Yeah, possibly. And two, what's behind that door?
I mean, don't get me wrong, Cyrus. There is a door to the kitchen which we did not know previously. I came out that way, but
Yeah.
it seems we have seen no wagons going there during the day at any point, have we? And it seems very strange. And then they keep the meat in the cellar, which is what Basil does. To be fair, he keeps things in the cellar, but not for very long, I don't think. But yes, it just seems an easy way to and I automatically jumped to the assumption that they will be using a cellar because of Sniffer. Because the sewer, sorry, because of Sniffer. But like I say, we have seen no wagons.
There's also stuff that's missing. I understand that there was an issue caused possibly by me, and that led to
Possibly.
some strife. Possibly. That led to some strife within, and that caused the bar owner to make all the drinks free, but that's just bad business practices. You can't do drinks free for the entire night because there was one issue of a fight. So there's something missing here. That doesn't make any financial sense. So I think we need to maybe you and Hasra and I can figure out the layout of the underground sewer system and maybe figure out what's going on. Maybe we can figure out where these imports are coming from, and maybe we can find out a little bit more about the thing. And then, looks like Bartleby over here was able to talk and maybe become friendly with the new bar owner that we found. Maybe he might be our way in that direction.
I don't believe so. He led me to believe he knows exactly what we tried to do this evening.
Right. Great.
I think our cover here is blown, and he has to have some sort of way to come off as so unnaturally charming, and to be able to hold this business together while doing crazy things, and to know perhaps what you were doing. I assumed was sorcery, but maybe Annalyn is giving him some potions or giving him.
And that's just when Bartleby, just when you mention Annalyn's name, anybody who was actually there, Annalyn was not in that room. He was definitely not there, which is almost like contrary to what you have seen before he came to you and met you outside the Sniffling Boar and told you of a possible plan. But he was definitely not around. And the other thing that happens at this precise moment, there's the bar of the door of the Hairy Hobgoblin opens slightly, and a BlueBird comes in, and he sort of like looks around the corner, and Basil sort of like says, "What you want, boy?" And he says, I have a message for Mr. Bartleby. And he comes over, and there's a piece of parchment, and you open it, and you, of course, can read it. And it's in a very flowing script. It's very well written. It has lots of loops and curls on it. And you can tell that it's signed Kristoph. That's what it's who signed it. And it starts off by saying, "My dearest Bartleby," up at the top. And it formally, cordially invites you to have supper at the Sniffling Boar tomorrow at 8 p.m. So 8 bells, just after nightfall. And he says, down at the bottom it says, "P.S. If you want to bring a friend, you are welcome to it." And then it says, "But only one." and then that's it. And let's just leave you discussing. It's nearly time for the break, but I just want to do one little bit of a scene before we go to the break. Because back at the Sniffling Boar, Hengist is having a wonderful time. And you quite put out, Hengist, but you stay, and your wine flows, and you remember very little of it, apart from waking up early the next morning with a mouth that feels like the bottom of a bird cage, very dry and very lacking moisture. And you seem to be in a bed, crisp white sheets on it. You can see that your armor and the rest of your items are over on a chair as you wake up. What would Hengist like to do?
So as he wakes up and he casts his eye over to see that there's the armor on the chair. He's going to look around and go, "I don't recognize this room," and then he will roll over to see what's
Yeah, and as you sort
if he's on his own in the room,
no, he's
or
not.
to see more information about the room.
Yeah, and as you look over to one side, curled up with her back to you, appears to be a young lady. She seems to be sleeping. You've got two choices. You can either snuggle in, or you can try to leave the abode. There's some flowers on the side, so if you wish to take one of the flowers and leave it on the pillow, but it's up to you. What would Hengist like to do?
Do I know roughly what sort of time in the morning it is?
Early.
Like the light level.
Yes,
early.
yeah. Sun has probably
You're
just.
thinking of round 2, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's a bit. So when I first heard that, Hasra, I thought you were saying it's around 2. And I was about to say, no, it's later than that. And then I suddenly realised what you had said. Yeah, it's a typical, when you've drank too much and no matter how much you want to sleep, you actually wake up at the crack of dawn in any case. So it's very early. The young lady in bed with you is sleeping. Would you stay or would you go?
He'd stay. He's a gentleman. He's not gonna do whatever he did and run.
Yeah. So you sort of like turn round and and you see her face. She's probably got about a charisma the same as yours, which I think is about, was it 3?
No comment. No, Hengist has got a charisma of 4. Thank you very much.
4, yeah.
Three.
She's about 3. She got a bit of a mole going on, but she
Take half her face.
and you sort of
fine.
you've seen better, but just as you sort of like get comfortable, there's a slight knock at the door, and you hear this gruff voice coming through the door, and it's sort of like it says, "Gertrude, don't you be sleeping all night. Remember, you've got that thing to do. All day, sorry. Remember, you got that thing to do." And she goes, "Oh," like that, and you hear somebody move away from the door and down the corridor. So let's take our break at that point, and we can see how Hengist is planning on getting out of his sticky situation. Maybe he'll be tying some sheets together and trying to shimmy down or be his noble self. We will see how good he is, and we will convene again when it will be sort of like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning and the following day. So you will have, as a party, time to do things before Bartleby, you're due to meet Kristoph that evening. And just so you people who are watching have got something to do, I'm going to set a poll off in the chat. The poll is going to say, is Kristoph good or evil? And there's now, players, you are not allowed to enter this this poll, but I will set it off. It's going to be 10 minutes, so you'll have 10 minutes to have a look at it, and we will see you back at what is it, at 10, so it'd be 43, quarter to the hour. We'll see you all very soon. live and see what actually happens. Right, so we are all back now, totally refreshed. And just to let you know, I did a poll before we left and I asked the chat the question, do you think Kristoph is good, evil, neutral, or no comment? Okay, and the responses came back as
Comment.
25% on each one of the 4 comments.
People.
So hi to Danju, who's just come in. It's Danju, for me it's going really well. I'm not too sure what the other party will be saying. Hasra, do you have Discord on at the moment?
I do, sir.
Brilliant. I'm going to send you a message. It might not be important tonight, but I just want to give you a heads up. Oh, I spelt it wrong.
It's IT.
Yeah. How do you spell dead? Sorry. Okay, you should have got that now. Okay then, so yeah, so we are welcome. Darth says welcome back, and OMG we just don't know. Bardic Heart says I'm awake but not really, but because he had a naps afternoon in between my ESO stream and this, and then like I say, Danji's there, and Buddy Box is around as well. So Hengist, I want to come straight back to you. And I was thinking on the break that, you know, no matter what, you've got a bit of a situation to get out of, Hengist has. And I was trying to decide what role I would make you do to actually get yourself out of this situation, but still keep some of your dignity. And I suddenly thought, I think Hengist has a courtesy role.
He does.
And I thought that would be a very good way, rather than influencing or anything like that, you could actually be courtesy. And if you are successful, then you somehow navigate yourself out of this person's house with most of your dignity intact. If you fail the role, then you will still get out of the house. That's not going to ever be in question, but your dignity might suffer somewhat. Okay? And just to help you along with this, I'm going to augment my role, not yours, with your nobilities wise skill. Okay, so that will be a negative augmentation on my role. So what's your nobility wise skill?
9.
So I nearly choked on
I
it.
should have waited. I was trying to wait and I thought you'd finish.
Okay then, so 1% then. Go.
Every little helps.
Every little helps. So
It could be the difference between a pass and a failure.
yeah, now remember, anybody in the chat, if you want to help Hengist at this point, remember you can, by donating £1 or 100 bits, then he can make it easier on the roll. Or £3 to 300 bits, he will automatically succeed. So if anybody's caring and enough to Hengist, we'll come back to you, Hengist, in a second. Bardic Heart says, I ordered a lot of food to save money because it's $20 off $25. But now what do I do with all this food? Yeah, I think there was some kind of maybe, yeah. So is there anything that Bartleby or Hasra or Cyrus would like to do before tomorrow morning? Because Hengist is predisposed somewhere, and you guys will have that time. Just to remind you that if you do stay up all night, or you don't get the customary 6 to 8 hours sleep, then you will have to make an endurance roll. And if you fail that, then you will have 1 level of fatigue for the next day. Okay, and then that's how. So just as people remember from the great snoring Tiffin, she could keep them awake. So that's it. So, but you've probably got about 2 hours that you've got free to do anything if you wish before you go. Hasra, I presume, are you heading back home to?
No, because he normally would, but the time taken to get back home would negate the 2 hours in a sense, wouldn't it? Because I'd be going out of the city too, and I'd rather stay as a group where we are.
Okay, that
Basil really more than anything, but
that's absolutely fine. So, is there anything you three would like? Remember, Cyrus and Bartleby, you can stay at the Hairy Hobgoblin. That's not a problem at all. Basil is quite willing to put you up in the cots upstairs. But remember, Cyrus and Bartleby, you also have your own accommodation that is free in Cyrus in the Order of the Phoenix abode, and Bartleby at your church. So you have a choice either way, but you've got about 2 hours if there's anything particular that you want to do. Just to let you know, there seems the Sniffling Boar is still alive, it's still busy. Probably you're not going to risk going back into that so soon. Bartleby, you've sort of like managed to get out of there with the guards, with your dignity intact, etc. So is there anything that you would like to talk about or do in Lindowe before retiring for the night?
I would like to get, basically to probably stay in the same room as he was in with Captain Kate, with Cyrus.
Captain Keith, man!
And what rather than walking back to his cottage, which he would love to do, he wants to be close at hand in case anything happens, because he knows Hengist isn't back yet.
No.
And that's the other thing. He's Hengist hasn't checked in yet.
Okay.
But he wants to spend an hour and a bit just trying to recreate that moment he had in that yurt, and just closing his eyes, sitting on his bed, and just holding his.
Okay, yeah. Tried to reconnect with the strange world that you entered while you were in the wigwam. What about Cyrus and Bartleby? What's going to be your plans?
Would you want to discuss the plans all together, Bartleby, or we're just going to go off and pray to whatever?
My intention, Cyrus, is to go and check the libraries and ask my superiors for any information on this Kristoph. I think the more that we know going into...
Knowledge is power. Yeah.
Going into this potential assassination, that's not I think it would be helpful to know what kind of connections he might have in order to best decide which of you three, Bartleby looks around since Hengist isn't here, which of the three will be coming with.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that one out. I do feel like Hengist and I should hang out sometime tomorrow in the sewers. My assumption is they probably get their import of goods in the morning and the day, so that way there's no major problems during the night when everyone's there. So I feel like we should take a gander tomorrow morning, maybe get a good night's sleep, and show up around 6 and just kind of camp out in the sewers and try to figure out who his provider is and what exactly are they providing that they have to hide it under the sewers.
That sounds like a plan, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll meet you here. Let's say around mid afternoon. At the Hairy Hobgoblin. And kind of figure out what the plan is from there. What we find, all that stuff. But I don't know. We'll have to see. That
Well, in
makes
that
sense
case,
to you, Hasra? Anything else you guys want to add?
I think Hasra's being very silent but understanding.
Yes, sorry. No, I do not have anything else I would like to add. I'm going to take a moment to just
Do you know?
maybe.
Sorry, I asked the chat whether or not we should start a new poll to see whether or not Bartleby should be assassinated or not. And it won't let me start the poll. It says that the content is not suitable.
Amriel will not allow.
So now I'm
Ariel
really
stepped
worried.
in there for you.
Now I'm really worried that somebody in Twitch is now, searching out who this person is planning an assassination.
Of a fictional character.
Yeah. Right. Okay then. So Cyrus and Bartleby, you can head off your own. Are you staying at the Hairy Hobgoblin or going back to orders and church?
I'm going back to my order.
Okay. And what about Bartleby?
I mean, I have to go back to my church to go through their library. So yeah, I'm gonna probably sit there then after.
Okay then. So you can head back there. Hasra, while you're communing on the bed, you do hear a bit of a rumpus, a raucous shouting match outside, and you manage to go over to there's no light in here, so you're not silhouetted, but there's enough light coming from the Sniffling Boar to see this action. And you notice that one of the bouncers seems to be being eradicated, told off, and being given his marching orders. And it's Benny, and he's sort of like pleading to sort of like keep his job. And what the other bouncer that was there was saying, you can hear him, he's shouting at him, and he says, "We cannot keep people who grab old men and break their legs. That is not, but I didn't do anything. I was just tied up. Don't talk rubbish, you man." And there seems to be, and he says, "Here's your wages," and he throws sort of like some silver coins onto the street, and poor Benny goes and scrambles around with it, and he sort of like picks some up and bats a poor beggar that was going for them as he dies from it. And he sort of like he looks up at this other guy, and he sort of like threatens him from a distance. He's got no weapons or anything. He sort of shakes his fist. He says, "I'm going to get to the bottom of this." He says, "I'm going to find out what went on. Just you be one." And they say, "On your bike, matey," like that. And he sort of like goes something off, muttering as he goes. And then Hasra, and shortly after that, you see Hengist leaving the Sniffling Boar with a couple of young ladies. He seems very much away, but he's smiling. He doesn't look like he's being dragged off or anything like that. He seems very positive and laughing, and you sort of like get this feeling that you're going, "Oh, bless him."
It's about time.
Okay then. So, and everybody, Bartleby, you are at the church and you want to do a library search, don't you? Yeah. So go for it. What's you've got some knowledge skills there, I think.
Yes, but I don't think they really apply here too much. Because I'm just looking for, I was hoping for any information the church might have, but that doesn't really, I mean, history might be the closest thing I have.
Okay, so you can see whether or not there's ever been somebody known, a notable person living in Lindowe of the name Kristoph. Do you know Kristoff's surname? He has one, but I don't know whether or not I've actually spoken it to you. So if you...
I don't believe you have told us.
Yeah.
I only remember Kristoph.
Yeah, that's fine then. Okay then. So, so roll your history skill. It's going to be quite difficult, this.
Yeah.
But roll it and we'll see what actually comes out.
Amriel.
It was a formidable roll, so you've made it. There seems to be no notable person living in Lindowe with the name Kristoph. There seems to be nobody of that name. There seems to be nobody who's a mayor or a notable merchant. There's all the family lines out there of all the noble people and all the great events that have happened in Lindowe, and there's no mention of Kristoph at all. Not a single mention of a Kristoph, not even in the cousins 6 times removed. Make for me a willpower.
Amriel.
Yeah, and you are very, very, very well decide when it's time to break off from your search. And when you judge it just right, and you sort of like understand what's when's the best time to leave it, and then you sort of like move off and then move, go to bed, and there's that moment when you go to sleep, and all of you don't have the most restful night. The only person who has a really restful night, unbelievably, is Hengist. Hengist, you have a really restful night. And morning stirs, and Hengist, let's roll your courtesy roll. You do have a luck point still.
Yeah, that's a luck point.
Cyrus!
It's going to be worse. No, I made it! Hengist is so silver-tongued.
Yeah, so silver-tongued. You actually managed to get out the house. The lady of the house thinks you're a very nice person, and possibly a future husband, but the girl's father, the lady's father, sort of like takes you over to one side and sort of like says, "Don't worry, we know she's a bit of an ugly cow, but if you actually do want to get back to her, they've got a nice dowry set up for her, so," and he sort of like punches you on the arm and says, you can lock her away after the wedding night. There's no other need to sort of like keep her. Just get her out of their hair. Then that's it. So it's very much he seems to understand that this girl's got a charisma of 4, slightly better than your charisma of 3.
Mine's 4.
You're 4 and hers is 3. Yeah, so what Hengist doesn't make up for looks, he just makes up with sheer personality, and you managed to get out of the house, looking quite good actually. And
springing his step.
And feeling that everything's intact, as in your reputation, and maybe even
everything's intact.
Maybe even positively, maybe your reputation has actually increased somewhat. So that's it. And so you all meet up at the Hairy Hobgoblin the next day. Bartleby, you're a little bit tired, but you're fine. You don't need to make an endurance roll because of your great willpower that you managed to turn away from the books and go and sort of like make sure that everything was fine. And you can share with your colleagues the next morning. Hasra, do you want to tell the other three about Benny?
Oh, yes. Just as a little funny thing that happened last night, I was awoken by a little disturbance, and your friend Benny, they were throwing him out. They said, "You are no longer welcome here anymore. You shouldn't be harming old people."
Harming old people?
Wow.
What?
Apparently, Benny attacked 2 old people in the queue.
I just
You know.
that sounds terrible. I don't know why he would do that. Why he would just suddenly
I
do
know.
such a thing. But sometimes you don't know enough about these people.
Well, maybe it's a good thing you were in for a while to stop him from doing these crazy things.
Honestly, maybe he was lucky that it didn't get worse that night. You know, gosh,
A lot more people could have got hurt.
a lot of people. But now he is no longer there to witness or
No.
be a witness against the things that we may or may not have done that night. So, I guess
And now
silver linings, right?
Yeah, Cyrus.
Becoming so vagabond.
Just
Am I not there?
no, you are
for
there.
this conversation?
I just thought it now would be a suitable time to roll a deceit roll.
Damn it.
We're not going to oppose it.
I'm gonna use my second luck point to reverse it.
Okay, yeah, and you managed to maintain, that what's happening, etc. You're all sort of like, everybody says, oh, yeah, Cyrus is quite looks after people, etc., and then that's it. Hasra, next question. Are you going to say anything about you seeing Hengist leaving the tavern with 2 young ladies last night?
No. No, because although inside Hasra's quite proud of Hengist and his conquest, he knows that a man has conquest his own conquest.
Yeah, and you'll just
down to him
store that up for later.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, remember that time?
Yeah.
I do, Hasra. It was a good night, thank you.
Did you see that girl with the mole?
Hengist, are you going to say anything? You don't remember.
So Hengist just says he didn't see anything suspicious after everyone left. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. The drink flowed. He didn't see Sniffer that he remembers. He didn't see much else suspicious going on. It was just lots of people having a nice time throughout the evening.
Okay. I think Cyrus and Hasra, were you heading for the sewers?
Yes. And I won't be in my best robes. I'll be in like some other shabby, rags. Or
Yeah. Is Hasra going with?
Sorry, yes. I will be going as per instructed. No, he will. Do I have my spear on me? I can't remember.
Well, you probably
I normally do.
When we were talking about it, you mentioned that it was your kindly walking stick, as if you were Gandalf the
That's
Grey. Do not separate a mole man from his staff.
I think I left it behind in Basil's when we went across the road.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So yes.
So if you remember, there's actually an entrance to the sewers in the docks. If you remember, the whole party went there before Cyrus greeted you, and there was you were going underwater. You were going undercover on a barge, so you know of that entrance to the sewers, and it's just to give you some indication. I'm just moving.
Didn't Basil have an entrance to the sewers in his cellar?
He didn't have an entrance. Hengist can tell you about it. It wasn't actually an entrance to the sewer. It was
sort of like some underground mole rat cave thing.
Yeah. So it was more. So let me just remove certain people from this. So if you remember, I'll leave this on so you can see it, so you remember what it was like. I don't know whether or not can you see anything? Is dynamic lighting on?
I've just got a black square.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I guess technically there's no reason why.
So if you remember,
There's no reason why Bartleby could have come with us, I guess. because
I
of course we need
have
back
something
anyways.
I intend to do while you guys are playing in the sewers. Plus,
Don't
I don't
play
want to
the
smell
sewers.
horrible when I visit for dinner. That's
Don't want to
gonna
get
be
eaten
a,
by giant
Oh.
crocodiles either.
yeah, there was a giant crocodile in here.
Gosh.
It's
and a dead lady. Her arm and
dead
everything is
lady
really
and
gross.
poison spores.
yeah, the crocodiles actually here. Look, this was the giant crocodile that came out.
It's just a myth.
You saw it, Hasra. It almost took your
Yeah.
face off.
It was upside down, but now
Well, the sewers.
now it's up the right way. So just to remind Cyrus and Hasra, I'll just grab your tokens and grab and slide them on here. You may not have permission for them to actually. I think Cyrus, you do. Can you move your token? And I think Hasra, you do as well.
Yeah.
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 Okay, then, so just to thank you to the follower for Rocky Gamer UK, obviously from the UK, nice place to be. So just to remind you, you're a little bit out of size. So this area here, this bit and this bit here, those are the flat bits, and the actual where that green sludge is, that's actually a semicircle, and so the water is filling it up. So if you stand on anything off that, you need to make an athletics roll to keep stood up. Otherwise you slide down into the water. Remember, there is quite a slow but natural current that is actually moving from right to left. I'll put an arrow on so you can tell. So it's moving that way, because remember, down to the left hand side of the map, that's where it goes straight out into the sea. There's no there's no sewerage system, there's no way of cleaning it or anything like that, but it does go out into the slum area of the sea, not the posh area of the sea. If you remember from last time, there's no actual light down here. You have to, because obviously if they're coming down to do any maintenance or anything like that, then it's completely, they bring the torches down with them, so you might want to bring some light with you. You have been, Hasra, I think you've been down the sewer. Cyrus, you didn't come down for, what was this? When did you go down into the sewers?
Is when we were dealing with Sniffer.
No, there was another.
We were transporting some cargo.
No, there was another time when you went down and killed somebody.
Oh, what wasn't it? The monster
Sewer Jack.
Sewer Jack.
Sewer
Yeah.
Jack,
Yeah, it was the story of Sewer Jack in that one. And if you remember then, you actually saw the sewers like this. And this was more about how it is in Lindowe's sort of like rich area. So this is more the sewer underneath Lindowe. And if you remember, this is where you came down. So you do know that where you are at the moment is quite wide, but it gets more and more narrow, but it does turn into a maze of tunnels. And Hasra, you remember, you're not keen of being underneath here.
No.
In any case, and you don't think that your natural sense of direction will help once you can't see the tunnel.
I'm hoping that Cyrus has a way to find us through this.
Yeah, he does. He seems to be dropping breadcrumbs. I don't know what it's about. into the sewer, into the water.
And every now and again you can hear
It's one of you taking a light source down here.
Oh, I just will have a lantern anyway.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay, then that's fine. So you sort of like
Well,
walk.
that and I can also light up. Am I taking my glaive down here, or is it gonna be too big?
Well, your glaive is adjustable now, isn't it? Because it's 8 size rather than 24 size, so you're fine with it. It's not a problem. I mean, it's not. This part of the sewer is not sort of like cramped or anything like that. It's quite. I mean, it's designed for people to walk down.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise they wouldn't be able to construct it. But you know, you can head down it. Tell me what the plan is, and tell me what you're hoping to do. Obviously, there's going to be tunnels coming off this tunnel, going straight ahead, splitting 2 ways. What's going to be your general plan, and what are you looking for, and how do you hope to find the way out again, which is probably what Hasra asks you, Cyrus, really near the start.
Let's see this. I guess there's something we could have done some better preparedness for this. Specifically, we could have probably asked Bartleby to check this library that he was checking last night for like a map of the sewer system. If that's been made.
There is actually a town planning people in Lindowe. The party's actually been there before. I know. I don't think Hasra, you were there, but there's a guy who lives in who's like, well, there's Sylvester, who's a cartographer. But
we're going to see Sylvester. I'm coming along for that.
But there is also a guild of workers on constructions that might have it, but it's not something that, you know, people are generally going to walk in off the street and say, excuse me, can I have a map of the sewers, please?
I only have one other idea to do. Which would be.
Well, I'll tell you what. You have a think about. You have a think, and I'll nip over to Bartleby because he had something that he wanted to do. I think.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, go for it.
And if Hengist wants to tag along with, he's more than welcome. I could use the company maybe. But I wanted to go to the Merchants Guild, see if I can't talk my way around there, maybe use my influence or something. I want to see, because I think that they might have more information on the brand new tavern that's opened. And since it's so successful, I'm hoping that maybe it's on their radar and they can tell me more information about Kristoph.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay then. So is Hengist going as well or not?
Yeah, Hengist will happily go along with Bartleby.
Okay then. So you can trot off to the merchants, guild merchants, and they are unbelievably nice to see you, and they sort of like say things like, it's been far too long, you should come round more often, it's lovely to see you both, please do come in, have a seat, would you like wine, would you like something to eat, have you brought them something that they would like to you would like them to evaluate and put a value to, because remember you still have that offer and it's so nice, how can they help you?
Well, after dealing with all those questions. Oh, yes, thank you, and no, thank you, and oh, we haven't brought anything. Bartleby would like to just ask, the Sniffling Boar. I've heard so many things about it and its owner, Kristoph. I was curious if you knew anything more.
And they go off on a... you're getting really, really sick of hearing so many positives about Kristoph. And they, first of all, spend a huge amount of time talking about how fantastic the Sniffling Boar is. And they say, Mr. Bartleby, it's absolutely fantastic. Such a clean place. Very well turned. Clientele, really nice. And, it's nice that there's a diversity there. Let's just say that it's quite a nice balance, I do believe. And, it's such a nice place. And so pleased that Kristoph has decided to set it up. He came to us really early on and actually said, would we mind? And he seems so concerned about, not interfering with our trade. But we said, Kristoph, by all means, our money is your money. You do your best. Such a nice man. And he turns to his colleague and said, isn't he such a nice man? Oh, spiffing. So good-hearted, so loyal, so law-abiding, unlike many of the other people who live in the... and he's obviously about to say slums, and the other guy sort of like kicks him underneath the table so he doesn't say the word, and he says, oh, yes, ow. Oh, he's such a nice person. Have you met... I was going to call him Sir Kristoph then. Oh, that's maybe a little bit premature. Have you met Kristoph?
I was going to say I wasn't sure whether I should call him Kristoph or if he has a surname I should be calling him.
I think it's fine to call him Kristoph. That's how he introduced himself to us. But don't you think it was so nice that he came round and checked in with us first?
Definitely. That is what any law-abiding citizen opening a business in Lindowe should do. Exactly.
And we were taken by him straight away, Mr. Bartleby. So nice, so genuine, up front. I remember so much about the meeting. It was so memorable in every sense of the word.
I have met him, to answer your question. But his accent struck a chord. Do you know perhaps where he came from originally?
Oh, definitely nobility. He's obviously got the right sort of blood running through his veins. Very noble. Yeah, very noble. His credentials that he showed us were tip-top. Absolutely tip-top. Absolutely fantastic. We had no doubt about his honesty and his positive attitude. We were quite blown away by some of the names on that legal document. Yes, the first guy says on that document, and the other person says legal document. Oh yes, legal document. Yes, very much so. Very much so. Have you been to the tavern? Oh, of course, Bartleby, you probably do not frequent such places as taverns, but believe me, it's a spiffing place. If you ever have the offer to go, then I would we would recommend it. Oh, and can I just say, the venison is exquisite. I don't know how they make that plum sauce. And the other one says, maybe out of plums, Clarence? Oh, yes. Plum sauce out of plums. Yes, of course. Yes.
Do you know if he was when he came to Lindowe? Because I just haven't seen him, and he seems like such a nice fellow.
Oh, I think he's been here a long time. I mean, like I say, all the legal documentation and his references were absolutely splendid.
See. Well, I mean, yeah, nobility. He's from one of the noble houses, then, yes?
I think his legal documents and references were absolutely brilliant. They were firmly acceptable. We have no worries about him at all.
Well, that's good to hear.
Can Hengist, whilst this is going on and Hengist is watching, can you try and make an insight roll to see how much of a
Yes, blind it to me. Blind roll it to me.
Telling.
Blind roll it to me and tell me what your insight is.
32.
You think they're telling the truth. They don't seem to be hiding anything. They seem to be telling you both. Well, there could be something wrong or there couldn't be something wrong. You're not too sure.
Okay. Perhaps Hengist, when they're going on and talking about him being in Noble Hill, Hengist says to Bartleby, perhaps I might run into him or up on Noble Hill. Perhaps we should. I could always ask around up there.
Oh, I think he's well known in the nobility. Oh, yes, I think... Does the Count know him? Does Count Bastian... Oh, I wasn't too sure. There was no mention of that in his references. But, I mean, they are such... I mean, both of them have very similar qualities. Leading a town, leading the Sniffling Boar. I mean, what can one ask for, which is anything greater than that?
Yeah, what could one ask for?
You also get this feeling that you're not too... The merchants seem to be very genuine. They're not hiding anything from you, but you seem to get this impression that they know him and he knows them.
Definitely.
You know, but they're not hiding anything. They genuinely think Kristoph is a fantastic person. And they keep going on and on about references and legal documents that were intact and right and proper. And they keep saying it over and over and over and over again.
Well, and near hopefully where Bartleby can take his leave, we'll say I guess what you've said matches everybody I've talked to. Everybody believes he's a good fellow.
I think he'd be a real asset to the city of Lindowe. Real asset. Don't you think, Klaus? Oh, yes. Most definitely an asset. Definitely an asset. And they talk about general business and the price of silk. And they also mention their recent dealings with the village that I forget its name.
Airwood?
Airwood, yeah, about the trade business, and they thank you once again for everything that you did in there and what you've done before, etc., etc. And we'll cross back over to Hasra and Cyrus, who are in a tunnel within the sewers. Hasra, you're looking hopefully at Cyrus, because as you walk further and further down this tunnel, the entrance has that weird effect of going further and further and smaller and smaller.
You can see Hasra is very furtively looking back, and a little bit of what you can see around his eyes, a little bit of perspiration. You should know, Cyrus, that Hasra is not a person who likes being underground that much.
Yeah, I put that together.
He's putting his trust in you at the moment.
We'll see how that works out.
He's also brought news so he can hear himself later.
Well, first thing I'm going to do to kind of help him out with his rising anxiety is I'm going to roll Fireblade on my weapon.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Just roll it to see whether or not you need to cross off a magic point. And magic points will be refreshed, by the way, because you had it. You've had a sleep. So
the wrong deck.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't get the critical on the standard, so you just lose the magic point. But yeah, your glaive has now got a fiery tip.
At which point, when Hasra sees this flame go up the tip, he'll like take a step backwards.
Yeah, and you also notice that it's taken on a bit of a bluish tinge now and again.
What's that mean? Anyways, so science. Is there like a scientific reason for that? Like methane's killing?
Well, you are in a sewer.
Yeah, that's like, is anyone else that detailed? Or is there another meaning for that?
No, there's no other meaning.
Okay.
I'm just gonna look for a metal bat.
There was once a wonderful trap that I designed in D&D that there was this 2 dips, and with the torches you went into the first dip and it had CO2 in it, which meant that the torches went out, and then you quickly went up the other side and lit your torches into an area that was full of oxygen and hydrogen as you lit them, and they just exploded. That was one of my favourite traps ever. But that's not what's...
Sounds like some of GURPS trap book.
It is, yeah. Those were the days when Dungeons and Dragons meant Dungeons and Dragons. None of this poncy role playing. It was marching orders and let's go for it. Yes. So Cyrus, Hasra's looking a little bit with perspirating round the eye sockets at you and your glowing weapon.
I'm gonna try this too. I'm gonna roll Witch Sight on around me. There's 2 purposes of this. One, I'm hoping that with my fire blade I can see like almost not like necessarily a smoke streak, but maybe with the fire blade it's showing that sorcery has been used in this area and is following me as I walk around with my fire blade. If that makes sense. Kind of like a weird stream.
Yeah, are you? Did you say you're casting Witch Sight?
Yeah, Witch Sight.
Yeah, go for it.
That's the reason why I'm trying to do that.
And that's folk magic again, isn't it? Yeah. So it comes off. You can take minutes. This is the actual sewer. There seems to be no magic down here at all. There's obviously magic emanating from the end of your glaive, but apart from that, there's no magic here, no sorcery magic here at all. If anything, you're rather disappointed because it looks pretty pathetic at the moment.
But one of the biggest reasons why it's like that would be my sense of breadcrumbs. Hopefully, is if by using this, I know where I came from.
Yeah, I mean,
see the stream.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, your only way there's a much you won't get any smoke drifting off or anything else. But I mean, if you throw anything into the water, the current is taking it to the sea. So I mean, if you threw Hasra in the water, it would start to go in the general direction. Your problem will be as the sewers start to become more and more complex, whether or not there's contrary currents flowing or whatever. And so I need to know, the first thing that I want to know is, what are you both, I know this sounds an awful question, but what are you both doing in the sewers?
We're hoping we see the deliveries for under the Sniffling Boar. We're hoping that we can find where the deliveries are coming from. We can follow the people if we see them. Okay, but it's definitely a stretch if we even find our way there.
Yeah, so I'm just putting you on to the Lindowe map. So the actual entrance of the sewers that you've actually gone in is actually marked on the map. You can just see it here.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that is the Sea Devil Cave.
That's right.
Yeah. It's just here. So, and you can see number 1 is the Hairy Hobgoblin. So the one
that would be
would be the Sniffling Boar. So I mean, it's quite a maze down. But it's quite a maze as well. You know, I mean, and neither of you have got any sense of direction down here.
That's right. Once you've gone in northwest, you take the first left and then another right, and you don't know where you are going.
Yeah.
To that.
Yeah.
The only thing that Hasra, you were with the party when you did the.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that and that was Sniffer, who was transporting things, and the two things that Hasra knows and can relate is that, number one, if you remember, it was late at night.
Yeah.
So if anything is being transported up here, it's going to be at night. It's not going to be during the day. So it might be somewhere that you can come back to tonight when Bartleby goes to Kristoph's. It's not likely to be transported through the day. The other thing that I would say is that your best bet is to camp out an entrance or an entrance, because Hasra can tell you that what they do is that they put things on barges like this.
Yeah.
And then they use like punting poles to push it up. So if anything's coming in, it's actually going to come in from the docks, which would be in this area, and it's going to come in this. Hasra, you don't know of any other entrance. You know that there's entrances down to the sewers because you've been to one up here. I was going to say, when we did that sniffle a bit, where did we come out? Do you remember? Yes, you did. You came out in Noble Hill.
Oh, right. Gosh, that's a long way.
Yeah, because if you remember, a lot of things happened down the sewer as well.
Yes. Yeah, it was a long journey.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
okay.
It would make sense that if he's importing any goods and whatnot, it would be coming from the docks. Not necessarily this docks, could be the other docks, but right? If that makes sense.
Well,
there isn't really an entrance for this. This is going to be entrance from the docks, really.
Well, yeah. Well, there could be entrances in the posh docks, as I call them. So this is the main docks. This is when this is where all the legal trade comes in. Anything in this bay and this harbour here is where the illegal trade comes in. So they're not sneaking in. There's boats coming in there, but they're trying to smuggle. People tend not to smuggle here. This tends to be the normal everyday, shipping for the merchants, etc. All this shady stuff happens in the slums. This whole area down here is the slums and I think that little one there is where your contact lives, Bartleby. I forget what.
Yeah, I believe that's
this
drowning mare.
This one here.
Oh, there, yes.
Is that what it's called?
Oh, that's very small.
Yeah, it was something to do with water, but I'm pretty sure it was the drowning mare.
It's either that one. Oh no, I think it's this one. I think that's where your friend is. It's either one or the other. Can you see where the red one is?
Oh yeah.
It's one or the other. It's somewhere in the slums. It doesn't really matter.
It changes all the time.
So you, Hasra and Cyrus, you sort of like go into the sewers and you sort of like have a good look around. And Hasra, you mention about what's happened before, and this idea that you put both your brain cells together and come up with this answer that you're probably going to get lost in here, but it might be an idea to camp out in an entrance to see whether or not anything coming. The other thing, Hasra, like you mentioned or Cyrus mentioned, I mean, there might be something coming in here. It's just that you don't know of any sewer entrances. This is the only entrance that you've actually used. So there could be more, but you just don't know. You could try to see. Oh no, neither of you know Captain Seatie, don't you? But Hasra, you know the people. Didn't you play dice? No, Cyrus, you played dice with a crew.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they were in, they might be. And I think somebody. Did you fix their boat for them, or did Bartleby fix? Yeah.
Well, it was both of us.
Yeah. So if they're in, they might be able to say whether or not they know of anything. But they maybe not at all. So do you Cyrus and Hasra, do you want to camp this out tonight,
Well,
or
it
what?
seems pretty pointless Cyrus being here when I can quite happily camp it out myself. And I would probably be better, but I would be better at staying stealthy and watching what's going on.
Yeah.
And then Cyrus maybe can do something else. Do you think, Cyrus?
I can maybe approach that what you suggested and was that crew that I played dice with before, and maybe try to figure out if they know any other entrances, or if they maybe could tell me a little bit more information.
Yeah, okay then. So what we can say then is that Hasra, you can camp out this tonight. What we'll say,
I was going to say I've camped out this before, haven't I?
You certainly have,
I
yeah.
a little hidey spot. So
yeah,
yes.
you did it up here,
That's right, just on the
with Gulliver. So what we'll say, just to keep everything in the same sort of time frame, we'll say, Cyrus, that the ship does come in of the captains that you know, but it's not coming into early evening time. So you will actually meet up with them, and so you'll be meeting up with them probably in a local tavern, and chatting to them, buying drinks, and seeing what they can tell you. You might even want to mention Kristoph, if you wish, but just tell me. When I come back to you, just general things. Hasra, you'll be fine camping out there and seeing whether or not there's any dealings going on. So that's you sorted for the night. So we'll do some rolls in a second. What about Bartleby? You've got a dinner appointment with Kristoph at 8 o'clock tonight. You can bring a +1 if you wish.
I was hoping to invite Hengist because
Hengist is happy to go.
Well, I'm certain if I wanted to invite the other two, I couldn't find them at this point. So
Yeah.
probably about the sewers.
Oh,
but
I see.
I want to bring Hengist.
So he wanted to bring somebody else, Hengist, but you're the only one around. He can't find anybody else.
The others are not around. But to be fair, Hasra would probably eat politely. Cyrus would probably pick a fight.
I was considering Hasra, and Bartleby probably says this while they're walking and talking, because if this Kristoph isn't really our friend, I need somebody who can go wild and crazy and selflessly defeat an evil sorcerer.
Right, yeah.
I'm not saying you can't, but I'm just saying Hasra might be more damaging to his reputation in the process.
Got ya. Darth says, wear your best church robes, Bartleby.
Yeah, I was going to say,
they're bound to protect you. They're bound to protect. Let's go in with your crucifix out.
We should both be dressed up quite nicely, considering this man's reputation.
The power of Amriel compels you.
So,
Does Bartleby need to borrow my bottle of poison? I just no.
I'm not going to poison people. That's why I brought Hengist.
I'm just going to say,
Hengist doesn't poison people either.
we don't need to poison.
Jabby.
Yeah.
If he comes at me, you'll chop his head off.
It's just sort of like, we have a Hengist. Just like they have a Hulk, we have a Hengist. Okay, so let me take it a bit at a time and hopefully finish on time. So Hengist and Bartleby, you set off at the right time to go to the Sniffling Boar, and you're met by one of the old bouncers and a brand new bouncer that you haven't seen before, who seems to be very efficient and very really strict to the rules, and he sort of like tries to stop you at one point, but the original bouncer sort of like says no, Kristoph is expecting them, and he sort of like apologizes to you, and you sort of like wander off, and you hear in the background he says, I did all right, I didn't break any bones, as you sort of like go away, and as you come into the bar, you notice that sat down here, let me just bring Bartleby in as well. when you come into the bar, you are actually greeted at the bottom of the stairs by Harmony Lee, who sort of like smiles at you and greets you very. Cyrus is slowly moving and sort of
forgot he's in view of the audience.
yeah.
Walk up on stage.
And he sort of like she sort of like welcomes you both and says how lovely it is to see you, and Kristoph is waiting now, and she takes you up the stairs to the door, and she goes up the door and she knocks so quietly, so like that, and you really don't think her hand even made contact on the door. It just looked like she was going, there was a faintest sound somewhere, and she waits and she pauses and she turns to you both and smiles at you, and after a short while the door opens. It opens inwards, and dressed in his finery, Hengist, you don't know who his tailor is, but he looks pretty good.
I want his number.
Yeah, he looks pretty good, and he seems to be delighted to see you, and he sort of like ushers you into his room, and his room, okay, it's actually the width of the head of the Sniffling Boar, and so it is massive. It really is massive, and it seems to be partitioned off into two areas. So you've come into the main area. You can notice that there's another door leading off to another area, and that door's shut. You have no idea what's behind here, but in the area that you are in, there seems to be a multitude of books, Bartleby, down one wall. It's actually floor to ceiling of bookcases, and there's books after books after books after books. There seems to be an enormous like oaken desk of some description that is there, and there seems to be a lot of papers on, and then down at the other end of the close to this door but not right next to it, there seems to be a table that has been set out for 3 people. So one person at the head and 2 people down the side. And you notice that there's really fine... Just roll your commerce skill, Bartleby, because I think you have a commerce skill.
Oh, I do. I grew up in a family like that.
Yeah, and you look at it, it looks fine stuff. It really looks fine stuff, and there's little candles lit on it, and he's sort of like, he says, gentlemen, do come and sit down. Let me give you some wine. And he pours you some Hengist and says, Bartleby, wine?
Oh, no, thank you.
I will have some water sent up for you then, if that would be okay.
Please.
And he turns to Harmony Lee and says, Harmony, could you tell the cook that we're ready for our meal? And he sort of like sits you down, and Harmony gives almost like a mocking bow and comes up, and within minutes there seems to be various platters coming up that is placed around on the table, and it's fine. Hengist, you need their cook as well, because this is fine food. There is really good looking food here. The wine looks nice, and once everything's come, Harmony Lee says, is there anything else, Kristoph, that I can help you? He says, no, Harmony, you go off and have an enjoyable night. And she says, oh, that's fine, Kristoph, I will catch you later. And she sort of like winks at you both and sort of like leaves, and the door closes. And for the first time, you suddenly realize what seems strange about this room, because there's no windows. There's no windows in the whole of the area you are in, and the bookcases seem to be up against the wall as if it's completely bookcases in all directions, apart from the wall that has a door in. And as you're sort of like looking, Kristoph sort of like serves some food. Are you happy to eat the food? It would be impolite to not to, but
Hengist will, but he'll be careful to only take the food from the same plates that Kristoph has.
Yeah, fine. And
so he's not going to help himself to something that Kristoph hasn't already helped himself to.
And what about Bartleby?
Bartleby is probably suspecting the wine would be the poisoning, and he's going to be fine with it.
As Hengist is necking back.
Well, Hengist is assuming the wines come from the same goblet or flute as
and
Kristoph. So,
and you sort of like notice that Kristoph is putting things on his plate, and there doesn't seem that there's some lovely red meat here, and there's some lovely what seems to be fruit and bread and different cheeses and everything. And you
Oliver would have loved this.
yes, he would have, and he sort of like things are served, and you know, Kristoph takes a bite or something, so you sort of like think it's safe to do this, and the wine is flowing, and some lovely cool crystal water that has come up just for you, Bartleby. You're the only person who's drinking it. Not even Kristoph is touching the water, just you. And Hengist, it suddenly dawns on you that the poison could be in the water because only Bartleby is touching that. But, you know, maybe, oh, drat. And the conversation goes on. And at one point, Kristoph is sort of like, it's nice conversation about the time of the day, the weather, etc.
And the food, and the cheese is particularly nice,
and etc. And
I need to get the recipe for that dish for my cook, those sorts of things.
And then, quite out of character, he suddenly says, "That is where my bedroom is. I sleep here." And you suddenly notice that both of you might have been looking at the door into the other room, and it's as if he's preempted what you were thinking, or he's noticed you looking at it. He says, "I don't sleep with the other members of staff. You understand. Hengist, you will understand this."
Oh, of course.
Yes. And is there anything that you would like to ask him before we finish off this scene, before he tells you? Is there any questions or topics of conversation that you're going to bring up?
So you don't live on Noble Hill? You live here?
Oh, yes, I live here. This is my business and my abode.
How long have you known the Lady Harmony?
Oh, we go back a long way. A long way.
You've lived in here in Lindowe for your life, or most of your life?
Oh, most of my life, yes. Do you like my books?
They are very beautifully bound, I have to admit.
Feel free to come and have a browse any time. I know you are somewhat of a literacy buff. Yes, do come and have a look at them. And then he sort of like says, "Oh, now to business." He says, "I've been hearing about your friend's tavern. It's quite dreadful what's happened. I really need to apologize to you all. I was completely unaware of how my new business here might have impacted on the goblin place."
The Hairy Hobgoblin.
Oh yes, the Hairy Hobgoblin. What a cute name. A cute name. Yes, it's not doing very well, isn't it?
Well, I think you know the answer to that.
It has been brought to my attention, Mr. Bartleby, brought to my attention. I am somewhat shocked and dismayed. I really am.
Yes. It does seem that your business it overlaps with the Hairy Hobgoblin.
Yes, very much so. And I think it's time to put that to right, don't you?
how do you mean?
Well, you are obviously here to convince me to talk about some kind of trade or business agreement. I would not really want to hear that your favourite tavern is, well, shall we say, run down to nothingness. So I propose some kind of a business deal.
Go on.
Oh, yes. You are a savvy business person, Mr. Bartleby. I like your style. Well, as you may have noticed, and please, Mr. Bartleby and Mr. Hengist, I am not snobbish at all, but I seem to have two sorts of clientele attending my business, and shall I say, I really cater for one rather than the other. So I'm wondering whether or not, if I was to close my doors to a certain clientele, then maybe they could be, I don't know, redirected back to your gangrenous goblin tavern.
Hairy Hobgoblin.
Oh yes, the Hairy Hobgoblin.
Hengist will turn to Bartleby and sort of raise an eyebrow and say, give a slight nod.
It seems, Mr. Bartleby, that the ball, as we say, is in your court.
Indeed.
Would there be any? What would be the benefit for you, Kristoph?
Well, apart from the benefit of knowing that I am helping a fellow business person, and you know that we are in this together, then, well, and I mean no disrespect, I prefer the more, shall we say, upper class clientele, rather than the more, well, you know what I mean.
Indeed, I do. I guess I'm just wondering why you chose this location rather than something closer to Noble Hill.
Well, I prefer the clientele and not their company.
Okay, well,
You see,
I nudge Hengist. I guess we can all agree with that a little
Hengist's
bit.
eyebrows are shot up
Yeah.
above his forehead.
I am here, gentlemen, as a business person. I'm here for the money, not the social graces or the company or the social climbing within the various hierarchies that the nobility possess. I'm a humble business person who is just looking to make the odd silver. I'm devastated that the horny hobgoblin is going out of business, and I really do hope that we can work together on this rather than opposing it. Could you both make for me blind D100s, please?
Done.
Is that exclamation point B-roll?
You should, if you click on your token, it should just come up on
that's
your
right.
bar.
That's right. Blind roll.
Yeah, and you both, this is a good idea. This is
Would help Basil.
Yeah.
Basil would be very happy with any custom.
Yeah, and it seems that everybody would be in agreement with this. It seems a perfect solution. And, you know, this was a huge issue that you were maybe blowing out of all proportion. And now the solution is completely simple. Kristoph
Right up to us.
will redirect his lower end customers over to the Hairy Hobgoblin starting tomorrow night. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to meet you, and you notice that your plates are now empty. You've obviously been eating and drinking throughout the night. And he says, Harmony will show you out. And at that point, the door opens and Harmony is stood outside. He says, I will put our little agreement in order starting from tomorrow. Would that be in agreement with you both? And please.
I'll have to talk to Basil first, but I'm sure he'll be excited.
Exactly. And please pass on my good lucks to him. Thank you. And he sort of like walks you to the door, and Harmony sort of like gestures you down the corridor, the stairs. And just as you're going down the stairs, he just calls out, oh, and thank you for your company tonight. And he turns round and the door
thank you very much.
Closes. And that is where we'll leave it for tonight. When we come back, we'll go straight to you, Cyrus and Hasra, about what you find out during the night. So we'll start off with you both. And then I think what we'll do is have an evening, or you can both all come back and then talk about it. And then we'll make sure that we have a rest, so you can replenish your magic points, etc., and then decide what you actually want to do afterwards, depending on what Cyrus brings back and what Hasra brings back, and how Basil actually comments or reacts to the glorious news that you may have saved the Hairy Hobgoblin, or maybe Kristoph has saved the Hairy Hobgoblin. And I will leave that pondering word to you. Hasra, if you keep an eye on what I put in the Discord, because obviously we didn't get to it tonight, but it might happen tomorrow. So if you cannot tell anybody about what I said, yeah, and then because it might happen next time. Yeah, Dartha says, I'm sensing a rebranding here, the Horny Hobgoblin. I think that's a really good name for it. And what a nice fellow. I reckon he's 100% good.
He's genuine, isn't he?
He is. And
What I want to
genuine
know
bloke.
is if Bartleby did detect magic or which site, and then and it was actually Sniffer under an illusion mask or something.
We were all pretty much guessing it, but that's 2 on the nose.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Actually,
On next episode.
yeah, come back next. It's probably better if it's going to be any disguise. It's more likely to be sorcerer magic rather than divine magic.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
We called it.
and you have to be eye to eye, Cyrus. So somebody can bring a stool
Oh.
or something to.
Ouch.
So,
Ouch.
thank you so much for coming along and joining us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's adventure. I hope the players have enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed it. It's wonderful to see the web of intrigue happening. And we'll come back next week to find out, has Kristoph really saved the Hairy Hobgoblin? What will Cyrus find out from the men at the dock? And what is maybe going in and out of the sewers that Hasra is right next door to find out. The only way to find out is to come back and join us next week at 7 o'clock GMT time, when we'll play the 5th part, I think, of Mists and Shadows. And yeah, and so well worth coming back next time, I assure you. So it's been fantastic spending the evening with you, and I will say good night to you, and my colleagues will say
Bye.
bye. See you all soon. See you later. Bye bye.
All right, guys. Sorry, I have to bounce.